Welcome to Strip Cover Lit, where we squeeze the bigger picture of literature. I'm Adrian Fort.
And I'm Dalton Gentry.
And we're here for atheist propaganda.
That sounds good. We just leave it at that.
It's not 100% true. We have a book haul before us, and I am outspokenly atheist, right? I have made no secret of that on the channel. And I have a book from each of what is known as the four horsemen of the counter-apocalypse.
Okay.
So in front of me right now is From Bacteria to Bach and Back, The Evolution of Minds by Danielle Dennett. How did we come to have minds? For centuries, poets, philosophers, psychologists, and physicists have wondered how the human mind developed its unrivaled abilities. Disciples of Darwin have explained how natural selection produced plants, but what about the human mind? In From Bacteria to Bach and Back, Danielle C. Dennett builds on recent discoveries from biology and in computer science to show, step by step, how a comprehending mind could in fact have arisen from the mindless process of natural selection. A crucial shift occurred when humans developed the ability to share memes, or ways of doing things not based in genetic instinct. Competition among memes produced thinking tools powerful enough that our minds don't perceive and react. They create and comprehend. An agenda-setting book for a new generation of philosophers and scientists, From Bacteria to Bach and Back, will delight and entertain all those curious about how the mind works. Do you know anything about Danielle Dennett?
Not a damn thing.
He looks a lot like Santa Claus became a biology professor.
Okay.
So if he's all over YouTube, so you can just YouTube Danielle Dennett and get just tastes of the things that he speaks about.
Okay.
And Danielle Dennett's one of those authors that when they share ideas, there's a point in their sharing of these ideas where my mind says to my mind, we missed something. We're not completely comprehending what is going on. Maybe backtrack, because we're fucked from this point forward in the conversation.
Okay. So, of the four here, because I know who the other three are, we're going to get there eventually, I know nothing about Dennett. Dennett's kind of like the unspoken one that I can't really talk much about. I've never read any of his works. I've never heard anything from him. So of the four, I don't know a lot about Dennett.
Ironically, I think you would enjoy Dennett the most.
Okay.
Just because of so one of the things he talks about is you've got your laptop and you've got your neck top.
Okay.
This is your neck top. It's your brain, not a computer brain. But they act a little bit alike. And he talks about, he's just super interesting. But for me, there's always a point where I realize something's gone over my head because he's that smart.
Okay.
Now, the back of that book mentioned memes. Do you know where meme comes from?
Where's it come from?
It comes from Richard Dawkins. It is a term invented by Dawkins. I believe it was invented in The Selfish Gene. The book I got from Dawkins was The Selfish Gene, the 40th anniversary edition. The Selfish Gene caused a wave of excitement among biologists and the general public when it was first published in 1976. Its vivid rendering of the gene's eye view of life, its in lucid prose, gathered together the strands of thought about the nature of natural selection into a conceptual framework with far-reaching implications for our understanding of evolution. Time has confirmed its significance. Intellectually rigorous, yet written in non-technical language, The Selfish Gene is widely regarded as a masterpiece of science writing, and its insights remain as relevant today as on the day it was published. Do you know anything about The Selfish Gene? Have you read any Dawkins?
I have attempted to read Dawkins, and I think my problem with Dawkins is I think I attempted to read him way too early in my reading career. When I was first, I know for a long time that I was an atheist, but when I was first coming to terms with it, being willing to say something, because we come from a very religious Bible Belt area.
Yeah.
You don't talk about being an atheist, especially growing up in grade school and high school, stuff like that.
Right.
But a friend gave me a copy of The Blind Watchmaker, which I attempted to read and remember thinking, I have no fucking idea what this guy is talking about. Dawkins is dense. He's very dense.
Yeah, you've got to have a really good attention span to read Dawkins.
Yeah. However, I credit where credit is due. I mean, he's a big name in this game here. So I think it would be good to read a little Dawkins. I think now I might be able to handle it, but like a freshman in high school, no.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, I attempted to read The Selfish Gene once before, but it was ill-fated as well. I didn't have the tools at the time, and then I lost that book, so I ended up having to get another copy. So
Well, the good news on my end is friend loaned me the book saying, you should read this, this is Dawkins. Like, I guarantee he's never read the book, but it's fine. I never gave it back, so I still have it. So I'm like, all right. He didn't worry about it. It's cool.
next, I have The Moral Landscape by Sam Harris. I have read 3 books by Harris, but I have never read The Moral Landscape, which is probably one of the better ones to read. Sam Harris's first book, The End of Faith, ignited a worldwide debate about the validity of religion. In the aftermath, Harris discovered that most people, from religious fundamentalists to non-believing scientists, agree on one point: science has nothing to say on the subject of human values. Indeed, our failure to address the questions of meaning and morality through science has now become the primary justification of religious faiths. In this highly controversial book, Sam Harris seeks to link morality to the rest of human knowledge, defining morality in terms of human and animal well-being. Harris argues that science can do more than tell how we are. It can, in principle, tell us what we ought to be. In his view, moral relativism is simply false and comes at an increasing cost to humanity. And that the intrusions of religion into the sphere of human values can be finally repelled. For as there is no such thing as Christian physics or Muslim algebra, there can be no Christian or Muslim morality, insinuating there's only absolute morality. Using his expertise in philosophy and neuroscience, along with his experience on the front lines of our culture wars, Harris delivers a game-changing book about the future of science and about the real basis of human cooperation. Familiar at all with Sam Harris?
Yes, I read Waking Up.
Okay.
We read Waking Up. Did we do the Waking Up for the channel?
No, I think I may have suggested. I read it before the channel was a thing.
I don't remember. God, it's been so long. Did we film that? But no, I read Waking Up. I enjoyed it. Harris is a little dry. That's fine. We've discussed that in the past.
Yeah, he has a lot of... So early in his career, he has a lot of the... If you YouTube his videos, all these guys are huge on YouTube. So, in fact, there is even a video... Lunch with the Four Horsemen or something that I will try to link in the description below, and it's just these 4 guys sitting around a table for like 2 hours talking. It's basically a variety hour with these guys. But Sam Harris, early in his speaking tenure, had all of the charisma of a mud fence. I mean, it was not good.
Yeah.
He would make jokes and no one would laugh, and it was just an awkward pause. And he looked sort of like Ben Stiller, so people are expecting him to be funny,
I liked Harris, though. I enjoyed Waking Up. I think there was some good stuff in there. I really enjoyed the chapter where he started talking about mind-altering drugs and the benefit to them. So, yeah, I can get behind Harris. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Ironically, blurbed on here is Steven Pinker, one of the non-Four Horsemen, but someone who is very much in the same vein that I want to read as well.
Okay.
But finally, there's one horseman conspicuously absent so far. Christopher Hitchens.
Christopher Hitchens.
I got Hitch 22, a memoir, because I don't have this. I've read a few other books by Hitchens. One of the world's most famous journalists, Christopher Hitchens, has rarely written of the private dimension of his life. Until now. In this provocative, widely acclaimed memoir, he presents the candid personal history of a complicated man. English-born and American by adoption, all atheist and partly Jewish, stalwartly bohemian and rigorously intellectual, Hitchens discusses his famously unbending convictions, tracing the thread of principle that connects his opposition to war in Vietnam and his support for intervention in Iraq. He comments on the roots of his ironic, witty, and tough-minded style, honed through stints as a foreign correspondent in some of the world's nastiest places. Condemned to be able to see both sides of any argument, Christopher Hitchens has contradictions that contain their own multitudes. Can't go wrong with some Hitch.
No. So when I was going away to college for the first time, I started working in a bookstore right out of high school. And they had a copy of The Portable Atheist. And, I eyed it for the longest time, man. Because, I was a little familiar with Hitchens. Hitchens is big on YouTube. Great stuff on YouTube, and he's funny.
The Hitch slap.
And he's funny.
Yeah.
It's the best part. But, I mulled over it for a long time, and I finally took Portable Atheist home with me. Which, if you're if you're just getting into the idea of atheism and wanting to read into it, that's a great text.
It's just little daps from other
from a lot of different
places.
People. So I would suggest that. But yeah, pretty familiar with Hitchens. Never read this one though. So
yeah, I have never read this either. I am not particularly into autobiographical things, just because you never know what kind of truth you're getting.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And while I have no doubt that there will be embellishment in Hitchens talking about Hitchens, there is nothing more indulgent, possibly to me, than Hitchens on Hitchens.
Okay.
So I am willing to give it a chance.
Okay. Memoirs are an interesting thing. You never know how they're going to go. I read once, this just off the wall here, it was David Sedaris, and I can't remember the name of the text, but it was literally his diary.
I think it's called Diaries or something. Something Diaries. Was it recently?
It was the last couple years.
Yeah.
And I picked it up, and I loved it, man. Where you're just getting these little bits of this man's life, and these are bits he totally wasn't planning on publishing at any point in time.
Yeah.
Developing as a writer, developing his relationships, and just existing.
Sedaris is funny. Sedaris is definitely funny and a great storyteller.
Very true.
Hitchens, one of the things about Hitchens' writing is you have to be on to listen to him.
Okay.
You have to be on to read him, I'm sorry. Because there's going to be a lot of that stuff thrown in that if you're not on, you're not going to catch immediately.
Okay.
But by God, it is there. So definitely excited to start my journey through these texts. The Moral Landscape, The Selfish Gene, From Bacteria to Bach and Back, and Hitch 22 by the Four Horsemen. I hope I did not offend anyone's religious sentiments with this haul, but maybe pick up one of these writers, because they don't write exclusively about atheism, right? So it is possible to read their writings and disagree with them.
True. And that's a good argument to always bring up, that if you do have strong religious beliefs, it's perfectly fine to read a text from another religion. I feel like you can't argue for your own religious beliefs if you don't have an education about the other options out there.
Right, and so there was Rabbi Shmuley was a guy that Hitchens did some debates with. Mm-hmm. And he said that people like Hitchens were not only important for religion, but necessary.
Okay.
Because people like Hitchens forced you to think about your own convictions and why. And that is something that that's one way that I got to atheism. But I think that even if you are someone who holds religious values, convictions, and beliefs, that they are worthless if they are not examined.
Okay.
And that is just servitude if they are not examined. And so voices such as these, even if you are religious, might prove useful for you in your day-to-day life. So that's all we have for this, the Four Horsemen haul here on the channel. Hit the like button if you did like this sort of thing. Support an atheist online. Maybe hit the subscribe button if you enjoy these ideas being tossed around or these types of things. And if you were inclined to do so, there is a link to our Patreon to be found in the description below.